Dear friends, welcome back to another episode of The Informant. Today we delve into a deeply concerning issue, the violent anti-Semitic attacks that rocked Amsterdam between November 7 and 8. These events are a stark reminder of the resurgence of anti-Semitism worldwide. Additionally, we'll discuss the large-scale evacuation efforts launched by the Israeli government to safeguard its citizens abroad. But before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. For decades, Europe has strived to overcome some of its darkest chapters, particularly those marked by the persecution of Jewish communities. However, anti-Semitism, one of the oldest and most deeply rooted forms of hatred in Europe, remains persistent. The recent events in Amsterdam, where violent attacks targeted fans after a soccer match, have sparked renewed alarm about the dangers of this persistent hate, even in the 21st century. On the night between November 7 and 8, following a soccer game between Amsterdam's Ajax and Israel's Maccabi Tel Aviv, the Dutch capital's center became a stage for violent scenes that shocked witnesses worldwide. What should have been a celebration of sport devolved into chaos, with pursuits, assaults, and widespread panic. According to local police, the unrest led to 5 hospitalizations and the arrest of 62 individuals. To grasp the full impact of the incident, consider the first-hand accounts of witnesses and victims. A 24-year-old Israeli fan recounted a terrifying experience, describing how he was knocked to the ground and trampled while trying to escape attackers shouting, "Free Palestine." Another fan reported being struck in the face with a key, a violent assault that left both physical and emotional scars. These personal stories illustrate the level of fear and danger that permeated the night. The severity of this event prompted Israel to dispatch planes to repatriate its citizens, highlighting the ongoing challenges to Jewish safety in Europe. Israel's national airline announced emergency rescue flights to ease the fears of fans and their families who felt threatened in such a hostile environment. The violence didn't erupt without warning. Dutch authorities had been aware of the heightened tension leading up to the game, increasing the police presence on the streets. The environment was already fraught, shaped by references to the ongoing conflict in Gaza and a polarized political climate surrounding the issue. This complex backdrop underscores how the broader geopolitical tensions between Israel and Palestine have fueled not only the Middle East, but also Jewish and pro-Palestinian communities across Europe. What's particularly chilling is the timing of these attacks, so close to the anniversary of Kristallnacht, the infamous Night of Broken Glass, which took place from November 9th to 10th, 1938. This night marked the beginning of a horrifying escalation of violence against Jews in Nazi Germany, where synagogues were torched, Jewish-owned businesses were ransacked, and people were assaulted and killed in a brutal act of terror. For Europe's Jewish community, witnessing anti-Semitic attacks so close to this historical marker is a painful reminder of how hatred can persist and resurface in different forms. Kristallnacht's legacy is a stark warning about the consequences of allowing anti-Semitism to go unchecked, a tragic parallel to what transpired in Amsterdam. The accounts from Israeli fans in Amsterdam vividly convey the vulnerability and fear still faced by Europe's Jewish community. Another fan, who had traveled from Israel for the match, described receiving anxious messages from friends and a panicked call from his mother. One mother recounted the anguish of attempting to locate her son in the early hours. These stories humanize the statistics and shed light on the personal and familial toll that anti-Semitism inflicts. Amsterdam is just one example within a larger troubling pattern of rising anti-Semitism across the globe. The Dutch case mirrors a trend seen in numerous countries, where anti-Semitic incidents are becoming more frequent and, in many cases, more violent. The October 7, 2023, Palestinian attack led by Hamas against southern Israel has worsened this climate, igniting a surge of anti-Semitic responses across Europe. This attack, which killed over 200 civilians and involved the kidnapping of more than 250 hostages, was a turning point that unleashed waves of anti-Semitic acts across the continent. According to the EU Agency for Fundamental Rights, Europe experienced a 5-fold increase in anti-Semitic incidents following this attack, ranging from online threats to physical assaults, vandalism of synagogues and Jewish-owned properties, and even public expressions of hatred masked as political criticism. A key challenge facing European governments and societies is distinguishing between legitimate criticism of Israel and anti-Semitism. While criticism of state policies is part of democratic discourse and protected under free speech laws, this rhetoric frequently morphs into outright attacks on Jewish people, crossing the line into hate speech. The situation is exacerbated by groups that exploit public demonstrations to spread anti-Semitic narratives. In the Netherlands, anti-Semitic chants and other forms of hate have long marred soccer culture. In 2023, over 150 AZ Alkmaar fans were arrested for chanting anti-Semitic slogans during a game against Ajax, underscoring a systemic failure to address the overlap between sports fanaticism, political extremism, and hatred. In response to the Amsterdam attacks, Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof publicly vowed to hold the perpetrators accountable, condemning the violence as completely unacceptable and pledging a thorough investigation. His commitment to punitive action is a crucial step, but it also raises questions about whether reactive measures are sufficient to combat such a deeply rooted issue. Ariel Musicant, president of the European Jewish Congress, stated that events like those in Amsterdam should serve as a serious warning to European leaders. He stressed that protecting Jewish communities requires more than police interventions and political statements. It demands a comprehensive approach that includes education, social cohesion policies, and a vigilant stance against the normalization of hate. The battle against anti-Semitism cannot be fought solely through security measures. Governments and institutions need to implement educational programs that foster historical and cultural understanding, dismantle stereotypes, and promote peaceful coexistence among diverse groups. The events in Amsterdam remind us that anti-Semitism is an open wound in Europe, a problem that goes beyond politics and cuts deeply into social and cultural structures. Combating this hatred demands more than immediate responses. It requires a strategic, multidisciplinary approach that weaves public policy, community initiatives, and international collaboration to prevent the re-emergence of one of humanity's darkest stains. If you value independent journalism and want to support our work, consider buying us a coffee using the QR code on your screen. Your contributions are vital to help us keep delivering in-depth analysis and high-quality insights. Stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to subscribe to The Informant for the latest news on the world's most urgent geopolitical issues.